Your effort is part of the Future Armenians program. So I'm going to reach back and sort of ask a question on behalf of the real future Armenian. Let's imagine a 10-year-old boy in a little village in Tavush and a 12-year-old girl in Kanaker in Yerevan. Ultimately, they are the future Armenian, and everything that you're doing is actually for especially the kids that don't have the privileges the wealthier kids have. What is it in your programs that you have done in the past? And more importantly, what is it in the programs that you're looking to do in the future that can qualitatively help that 10-year-old become a robotic expert rather than someone driving a tractor, or the same thing for the girl? What do we do? What is it in your programs that is targeting the least of us and giving them a better future?
Eric, let me just answer it from a different standpoint, because your invitation to say, what can we do for these people, is something that's been attempted to address for quite a long time. And one of the things I think we have to realize is that the specific challenge of, for example, fighting inequality and access, or upgrading our education significantly, or creating job opportunities in science, technology, each of these things in and of itself, I think, will not sustainably create the future we want. All of them together will. And that's the problem we face, because there are a number of band-aid solutions we can use. For example, create a new school for specially gifted students who are underprivileged. And that's really important, and we should do that. But that in and of itself assumes a country with healthcare, a country with prosperity, enough resources to defend itself, and all the other things. So I think the reason we set forth a number of vectors in trying to describe and drive a consensus discussion around our future is that I'm afraid that just fixing the particular issue isn't enough. We have to create a systemic change. And I know well that Armenians are generally, because of our long history, a highly skeptical group. We are very skeptical, especially about what other Armenians say or do. But we're also skeptical that we'll ever be able to do these big systemic things. And yet, historically, we have defied, despite our size, the expectations of the world in leading in many, many areas for hundreds of years. And we keep wanting to go back there, but we don't realize that at those times, they actually believed that they could make systemic advances. So I believe we need to kind of enter an era where we think about how any of these programs can work together to create a sustainable change. And that's where we have to come back to say, this is an obligation of a properly functioning government. This is the obligation of a diaspora that in fact shatters the image of a Disneyland and recognizes that its responsibility, not its opportunity, but its responsibility, if they want to call themselves Armenian, is to engage in this existential struggle and not to assume that that's not their business because they live somewhere else. If we can't bring all these things together, and we can, in my view, the difference between us doing it and not starts with our belief that we can do it. And so despite our skepticism, we have to suspend our skepticism to be able to fight the disease that was mentioned earlier. So I think we can help the young folks you're talking about, but I just want to point out that if it's done as a point solution, it will not last.